It's Austin Jones from Lessons with Austin. I just got done setting up this junior beginner drum set. Parents called me, they had no idea how to set it up, so I made a video setting it up, made some upgrades, and maybe you're kind of in a time crunch and you buy your child a drum set. Congratulations, you're brave. I can make this actually a very positive experience for you and for your child and for the whole family in the days and weeks and months and years to come as your child learns how to play the drums. So we're going to get this thing set up, we're going to get it sounding good, and we're going to start at the very beginning. The first thing what I'm going to show you how to do is we're going to change the heads out on these drums and tune them up. If you don't have heads to change out right now, you can skip to the next part where we get to setting up. There'll probably be a link over here so you can skip ahead. But check this out. So first we're going to start with snare drum right here. So you probably have a snare drum. It might be in a tripod stand like this. We're just going to loosen this tripod stand, get this out. So first, you're going to need a drum key. Now, if you can't get a drum key right away, you could probably use a socket wrench. But what we're going to do, we're just going to set this down on the ground, and we're just going to take this off. Alright, so snare head just comes out like this. Throw that away. You should have a ring left like that. Alright, so I went to Guitar Center. This is about $15. Remo brand. There's Remo and Evans and Aquarian are the three main brands that we do recommend. This snare is a 12-inch head, so what I bought, my favorite is the Remo coated ambassadors or coated vintage emperor, something like that. I like to have a nice coating on it. Put these on, you're going to fit it right over the snare drum like this. Put the ring on it. And if you've ever changed a car tire, you know that you want to put things on in a star pattern. So first thing, I'm just going to get things on there. Alright, so I just want to get it tight with the fingers first. That way we'll know that the tension is even with all the lug nuts going around. When you press it down, you'll see wrinkles around it. So as you're pressing down, kind of give everything an even amount of turns. Try to make it all even. Start seeing the lines, the waves go away. That cracking sound is natural, head stretching out. Okay, so we're going to start right there. It's pretty low. It's optional. If you want to change the resonant head, if you're going to change it, you're going to use a thinner, clear head. On the snare, you have this snare beads right here. I'm going to show you how to tune this real quick. In order to tune it, you're just going to loosen the snare like that. When the snare's off, you shouldn't hear the buzzing. So if you hear the buzzing, you can loosen this up. If you can't, for some reason like this one, I can still hear the buzzing. So what you can do is you can just loosen it up as much as you can. Put a drumstick on there to get rid of that buzzing. So when you're, just give it a few taps. Try to use your ears as much as you can. We're gonna just push it down in the middle. We're gonna loosen this up until you see the lines. The reason why we want to see the lines is because it gives us an idea of how much pressure is on there. Because we want the pressure to be even. Use light. You're going to use a glare. Use the light to make a glare. And you're going to slowly tighten the lug nuts until the lines barely go away. Just right until they just disappear. And that's what's going to tell you that you have even. See right here, there's no, I don't see any lines, but back here I do. So that's what's going to help you find that even tension all around. See, I see some lines right here. So. Okay. So once you have it even, you can tighten it up pretty tight. Tighten it evenly across. So I'm going to start with 360-degree turns. Go ahead and put this on the snare stand. By the way, on the snare stand, once you get it on here, flip it upside down, tighten this as much as you can. Because when we mount this to a hydraulic lift that's going to flip the kit upside down, you don't want the snare drum to fall on them. Pull it up, it should not fall. So now, I can go ahead and turn on the snare. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit more. I like my snare drums pretty tight. I'm going to give everything another half turn. That sounds pretty good. Let's do the toms next. So if you got a high tom, pretty much the same rule applies. I'm gonna just take this off. So right here's an 8-inch Remo coated ambassadors. This sounds pretty dead, so I'm just gonna get it through the waves, start turning it until the waves go away. So I'm gonna tune the bottom head on this tom, just loosen the lug nuts. So I'll put a new head on the top, I'm keeping the old ones on the bottom. Turn it until the waves evenly go away. It's probably good. I'll probably give this one just a half turn because it's small. A lot of people think that drums have to be tuned to a certain pitch, and sometimes people do that, but it's not always necessary. Really what's important is that it's even and that it goes from a higher pitch down to a lower pitch. So I'm going to take this head off. Alright, here's tom 2. This is the second biggest tom. This is a 10-inch Remo coated ambassador. Two different types of coated. One's vintage and one's not vintage. Both are awesome. I love them both. Loosen this. So you've got waves on all sides, so I'm going to just start tuning it so the waves start to disappear and make the waves go away. Just a quarter turn. The waves go away. Now, my preference for the toms is to be pretty low. Now with the little ones, you're not going to be able to get much lower than that without killing the sound. But take it up just a hair above the waves. If it sounds kind of dead like that, give it another half turn. But I like my toms low. My snare, I like it pretty high. That's just me. That's probably pretty good. Okay, so toms are done. Here's a little tom. Little tom usually is going to have a couple legs on it, so we're going to do the same thing here. Was this 12-inch coated ambassador by Remo. Like I said, I also like Evans, has good stuff. Aquarian, Arian. Keep the tension even. Let's tune the bottom side. Make the waves here. You want to see the waves evenly on all sides. You want to tune them right until the waves go away. Same thing here. Make the waves go away. That's actually not too bad. For beginners, children's drum set, you can actually make these sound pretty good. Okay, last thing we're going to look at is tuning the bass drum. Now, here's your bass drum. You got a front head, which we're gonna take this off first. Now, with these smaller drums, this is an 18-inch kick. I went to Guitar Center today, and to my surprise, actually, I'm not surprised by anything Guitar Center has or doesn't have. They don't have 18-inch kicks. So the ones that I do recommend getting are double ply with a gel insulation in between. The kick drum you want to sound very bassy. So if you aren't able to do that, I'm going to show you a little remedy that can fix that. But let's go ahead and take this off. Star pattern. I'm going to put this back on very last. So I'm going to put some cushion in here. Don't lose these. Don't lose them. Just don't. It's annoying. Save this. Here's the batter head of the bass drum. I don't have a head to change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune it the same way I tune the toms. And you really don't want these too high. I think a lot of people tend to tune these pretty high. The goal that we want for the bass drum is to get a thump so you can feel it in your chest. If you tune it too high, this one was tuned very, very high. If you tune it too high, it's going to sound like a tom and not a kick drum. Even with a smaller kick drum, you can get a pretty bassy sound. So I got waves all around. I'm going to just bring it back up. Wait right here. That's about it. If you have a towel, put a towel in there. If you have any type of cushion, here's some foam. This doesn't have to be anything special. A pillow would do, old couch cushion. Roll it up and just put it in there. When you put this kick pedal on, thump. When you take it out, oh, that sounds so awful. That's one of the most annoying sounds. Put this cushion in there, you'll just get a nice thump. That's really what you want. You may not need that much thump. If you just move it around the right way, you might be able to. So I got a little bit of foam. You can use a pillow, couch cushion, some old winter clothes from the 70s. You just want to get just a thump. If this sounds too dead to you, pull it back. That's probably good. That'll get the job done. Okay, so let's put those heads back on. Alright, there we go. Alright, now you got your heads on your drums. Maybe they're tuned up. We're going to fine tune it a little bit more after it gets set up. The next part, we're going to show you how to get things set up. So, first thing I like to start with is my kick drum. Okay, so here's my bass drum. If you have a carpet or a rug or something, those are nice to have. This is really cool. This is a drum carpet. It has a piece right here that will keep the drum from moving around. So when you set the drum up against the carpet, they'll just lean snug in there. If you don't have a drum rug, it's okay. You can put it up against a wall or put it on a carpet or anything, something like that. Bass drum's going to have legs right here. You want these to angle outward. Now different legs are going to have different things. Some legs are going to have a adjustable rubber foot right here with a spike coming out. That spike is for carpet, if you see it. You're going to just screw it and the spike will come out. Now if you're going to be on a hard floor, obviously you're not going to want scratches all over your floor. Just screw that rubber boot out. Make sure these are tight. Some of these will extend longer. You can extend it like that. I have a Gretsch that has like a riser on it, so. But just make sure everything's tight, like this. Number two is probably one of the most forsaken things is the drum throne. So here's a drum throne. There's lots of different kinds. There's kinds that screw. This kind right here is a used one by PDP, so these are really common in a lot of the music stores. They're inexpensive. One thing to be very aware of is this mechanism right here. These things break and they disappear, and if they're not taken care of and adjusted the right way, it can be a pain in the neck. So these specific ones have a little washer like that. A little bolt. Obviously that's not the bolt it came with. If you lose that thing, this is going to get all bent up. The most important thing for all sets is to adjust the throne to the height of the drummer. So how do you know how high the throne is? Well, you may be thinking, well, we have a chair. I would not recommend a chair because you need something that can adjust. The drummer sits on the drum throne. Their knees need to be at a 90-degree angle. So if it's too high, their legs are going to dangle. If it's too low, the drums are going to be too high. Perfect angle. So you want their knees bent about 90 degrees so that they can move around, but they want to be on top. So when they hit the drums, they're coming down and they're not hitting up. If they have to go up like this, they're going to be hitting the sides of the rims and drumsticks are going to be breaking. It's really not good form. So you need a good drum throne. For McCartney, the girl who owns this drum set, she's not going to need it as high as me. So I'm going to adjust hers all the way down. You need your kick pedal. Now hopefully your kick pedal is working right. Hopefully the springs are all connected. Make sure everything is pretty tight so it doesn't fall off. Make sure the batter pretty tight. When you put this on, you're going to flip this over and you're going to put it on. There's a little clamp right here. You want to flip that clamp onto the rim and then tighten that as much as you can. A couple notes on the batter of the kick pedal. You do want to make sure it hits like right in the center of this bass drum. Most of these are pretty easy to adjust. Just make sure you have a drum key. You can pull it out. You can put them in. Just find where you want it and then just tighten it up. Another thing that's really important is that the batter head doesn't come back too far too fast because your child will get hit in the shin. And that really hurts when a batter head is adjusted wrong. It comes back and pops you in the shin. So you can actually adjust this forward. You can also adjust the tension right here. You can screw these in And so there's a lot of different ways to adjust it, but just make sure that it's not coming back and hitting his or her shin, because that really hurts. Kick drum is good. I got a drum throne. I can put my heel on the floor comfortably. I can pick my heel up if I'm going to pick my heel up. Next one, once you have your kick drum, your drum throne, we're going to adjust the snare drum. So remember, your snare drum should be able to pull up by the snare without the tripod falling off. Now I can tell you right now, this is adjusted too high. What you want the snare drum about knee height. Okay, so we're going to adjust this as much as we can. Now some of these stands just don't adjust well, and you just got to kind of deal with it. If you notice on this one right here, this is actually a little placeholder. I'm probably going to take that out. This doesn't do anything except for just kind of keep it in place. So you can take those off if you need to. Loosen that up. You can make it higher if you want to play while standing, but in most cases we're going to need this pretty low. So I'm actually going to take off this. You're going to need a drum key for that. For little children, you got to cut some corners to get things pretty low. So I'm going to put this back so we don't lose it later. Because when McCartney starts to grow, she might want to put this thing back on there. Adjust it higher. Adjust this, make this pretty low. Make it go as low as possible. That's probably the best we're going to be able to do with this particular stand. Another thing that you can do is you can angle it. Don't angle it too much, just a little bit. That should be good for McCartney. So now we got kick, snare. Okay, now we're going to do the low tom. Low tom is going to go on my left side. This is generally going to be about the same height as my snare. These legs come off. Make sure that the angle goes out. You don't want your legs going in. That doesn't make too much sense. First, going to just adjust that out. Make sure the legs are sticking out. Tighten it. Put it down right here. That is very low. Typically, you want these to be even, but that's not going to happen. It doesn't look like. So I'm going to lower this just a little. If you have a junior set, a child set, you might want to make sure that you have a smaller tripod. Here's my tom 1. Generally, I only use one tom on top, but McCartney's drum set has 2 toms, so I'm going to put the smallest one up here. Now, the way you want to adjust this, you want your child to be able to go from the snare without having to reach far. If it's too low, you don't want that. You want to be able to get to a drum roll pretty easy. So by putting the edges of these as close together. Okay, tom. Now, if you only have 2 toms, put tom 1 up here. If you have 3 toms, put tom 2 right here. Pretty much the same principle applies. Make sure everything's tight so it doesn't move around. But if you have Superman strength like me, keep it on like a level 8 because these things will break. Those are my toms. Let's talk about hi-hats. Now here are the hi-hats that came with the set. This is trash. For almost every junior set, the hi-hats are going to be trash. But if you don't have hi-hats to replace, that's okay. You can skip past this next set, but next segment I'm going to show you about I'm going to talk about the cymbals that we upgraded. So I'm going to take these hi-hats off. You couldn't get anything for these if you try to sell them. They're terrible. See, I bent it. I broke the cymbal. Here's your hi-hat stand. What this has, a needle right here. When you push the pedal down, it should come up and down like that. This screws, some of these screw, you can pull this out. This has a maneuvering mechanism. There's a screw thread on the bottom. Oh, right here. It screws in right there. If it's snug, don't worry about it. But if it's loose, you're going to need to screw it into this hole right here. Put this guy back on. Tighten that up. This guy is trying to look like Slash, but he's playing the drums, so I don't really get it. And he's in the desert, so I guess that makes it extra cool. Almost every beginner set is going to have cymbals that are just not acceptable, and in my semi-professional opinion. This is Meinl, M-E-I-N-L. I recommend Meinl cymbals, Sabian, and Zildjian. Any beginner set of cymbals is going to be good, but you need to have the following 3 things in your drum kit. You need to have 2 hi-hats, you need to have a crash cymbal, and then you need to have a ride cymbal, or if it says crash/ride, it can be used as a ride cymbal as well. So this is a decent set. I bought this for $200. Let's open her up. Alright, here's the hi-hats right here. These are fairly inexpensive, but above acceptable quality hi-hats. All the name brands are going to have different levels of hats. Which one's top, which one's bottom? If it doesn't say, if you can tell which one's heavier, the heavier one is going to go on the bottom. Sometimes, like in this case, it says bottom, so you're just going to put this just like that. It's going to move around and stuff like that. You're going to have a hi-hat clamp. Usually, if it's plastic, they're not going to last very long. You're going to have either a rubber bushing or felt. It may be a good idea to buy some extra felts. You can put these on the bottom of the top hat. The screw's going to come out through here. I'm going to go ahead and use this felt because I don't want my cymbals to get scratched up by the metal, and I will screw that on there like that, and I'll screw the clamp on there. Now the top of the clamp is going to have a hole in it. That's so the hi-hat pin will be able to go through it. Now generally, in a perfect world, when you hold it by it, it's not going to wiggle around. It's going to be real tight. So we're going to try it. And it doesn't always work like that with some of the less expensive drum sets. But if you can get this to where it can be pretty tight, and again, if you have Superman strength, don't break it. You want to be able to hold it, and you want it to be able to not move. So when you're going to put this on here like that. When I push the pedal, I should hear that needle. If you have an absolute beginner, here's tip number 1. If you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world, open this up and just get a 3-year-old to start. That's terrible. But if they're at that point to where they're just like still kind of annoying, lift this up all the way, screw this on tight, and then turn it. And by turning it, you're going to screw it in there. That way, the hi-hats will be tight. If your drummer is a little more experienced and is comfortable opening the hi-hat and closing it and knows to keep it closed when they're using the hi-hat, you want the hi-hat to open just a hair. You want some sizzle when you close your hi-hat, like that. Also, when you're adjusting it, you can adjust it down here. You want to bring it down about the bottom of the rib cage level. Same thing. For McCartney, I might bring it down a little bit more. Here's a little placeholder. Loosen this placeholder up right there. A little more looser. A couple inches above that snare drum. Tighten that up, loosen that up, push that down. About right. Okay, next, crash cymbal. You might have seen me earlier. I hit the crash cymbal and the crash cymbal bent. This is the very first thing I want to upgrade on my cymbals. I'm going to take that off, put that down there. Make sure this is pretty tight. Crash cymbal is going to go on the left side between the hat and tom 1. Make sure there's felt on the bottom. Some of them will have a plastic casing, which will give it some extra reinforcement. With my set that I bought from Guitar Center, it's a 16-inch crash. I'm going to put that right over there, like that. Put my felt on top. Now, crash cymbals, you want them kind of out of the way of the tom. And I usually like to angle these straight up so I don't have to hit them as hard. Final cymbal. A lot of sets are complete at this point. But we do use a lot of ride cymbals. So you may need to purchase another cymbal stand. You can get one inexpensive. And by the way, I have links to all these products and upgrades in the notes in the description. So please use those links. That does help support the channel. So I have 2 stands here. This one has an angled boom on it. This one is just a straight stand. If you use the straight stand, that's okay. But for a ride cymbal, I do recommend spending the extra money and getting a boom. The way that these booms work, when you loosen this part up, it puts away like that. So you'll see this extra mechanism out like that. Just pull it out, rotate it. For most drum sets, you can just put this at the lowest setting. And you're gonna want this either over here, right above the tom. If you don't have the second tom, I generally will just put it right over here. This is a 20-inch ride. This is a really nice one. So you want to make sure it's not going to fall. You want to slightly angle toward the drummer. You can lower it down pretty low. The ride cymbal you want lower than the crash cymbal. The ride cymbal, you want the ride cymbal about the same height as the hi-hat. Alright, so I'm going to make my final adjustments. I always tell my students, every drummer sets their setup a little bit differently. When my drum students come in, I just say, make it yours. My drum set is your drum set when you're here, so they have the freedom of moving things around. They would have access to everything efficiently, but you don't want to accidentally hit anything. I'm going to make some final tuning adjustments to the set. I got ride, hats, crash. We can see that this one's kind of loose. These little toms, I don't want them too tight. That's probably the lowest I'm going to be able to get these toms. And that's it. Alright, so if you got everything set up, congratulations. If you have any questions, leave a comment in the descriptions. We do give drum lessons either in person in Deer Park, Texas, Monday through Saturday, or on Skype if you're interested in getting your child involved in lessons. Music is a great thing to get involved in at a young age. Maybe you want to teach your child lessons and take a few lessons with us on Skype. We will help you teach your child to play music. A family that rocks together stays together. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please leave comments in the description if you found this. Especially if it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, Christmas Eve, and you're just now getting to this. Give me a thank you for Christmas. I would appreciate that. Thank you.